Everyone, welcome. My name is Alisha Braché from Cosmic Gateway, and I'm here with my panel of soul sisters. I'm here with Anna from Braché. Got Katie Jane, we've got Nat in the house. Thank you, ladies, for being here. This is our third and second last segment for Ascension 101 Real Talk. So today's topic is about the solar event, the solar flash.
The solar affair.
And very serious topic, as you can tell, and how to prepare yourself. So this will be an hour segment. Now, keep in mind that this segment that we have, Ascension 101 Real Talk, is very informal. You know, we will be talking about that as a broader topic, but it's also time to have a bit of fun and come in and comment and ask questions and share this space with us, really, ultimately, is what it's all about. So when we were planning this segment, we knew very specifically we were going to talk about ascension and divine partnership and children, and then it was like the fourth segment, and we were like, what? And I tongue-in-cheek said to Anna, the solar flash and how to prepare yourself, but I was joking, and she wrote it down, and it just kind of stuck. So here we are. Welcome, ladies. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Alisha. I think we had to add the solar affair in there because that week Nat and I had the same kind of dream about solar flash that went on for like a whole day. We were like both wigging out about it.
Do you want to share that then and give people context from your own personal dream space perspective of?
Nat might remember my dream, but I can't remember it now. All I remember is the next day I was like, I went into a meditation and the words just kept going over and over in my head. I woke up with these words in my head and went into meditation, and it intensified. I know I had some really beautiful visuals in my meditation, and I wish I'd have brought my book because, you know, I've forgotten, but it was basically saying solar flash 7 days, solar flash 7 days, over and over again. And I know one thing that stayed with me, the feeling was the wave of the solar flash coming in and what it felt like as it hit people. But it hit people in different ways. It didn't hit everyone at the same time. So to me, I think that probably depends on where you're at energetically, whether you're at a space to receive the solar affair. I think we have to call it solar affair now. Thanks, Katie. But yeah, Nat, do you want to share your dream too?
Yeah, so I don't know how much detail to go in, but yeah, I woken up the same morning that Anna, you had your dream, and it was, again, like I touched on yesterday, I know the difference between what dreams are, you know, actual meant for me and what is, you know, just passed off as a random dream. And this is the second one I've had about the event, and it's been about 3 months in between, and kind of similar to the first one, but this one I was being given the number 10, 10, 10, 10. And we were told to sort of congregate in places of worship, and I knew that that wasn't the right thing to do. And I went there and I was like, no, we need to spread out. We need to be not grouped together. And the flash had happened, and it was very, very quick. And next minute I was on the cross, and we went through like a wormhole. And some people could comprehend what was happening and other people couldn't, and I was sort of there to help the people that were struggling, to tell them that it's okay, this is a part of what's happening, you're safe, you're okay. And yeah, I was given 10, 10, 10, and then I don't know how I'd worked it out in my dream, but I knew it was December for some reason. And I was like, okay, so I journaled like my dream down, and yeah, it was really cool. It sort of, I think the second one I had was a lot easier for me to interpret. The first one, it took me about a week to like get all the information and process it. This time I was like, okay, I've seen that before. I know what we're doing now. Well, to a degree.
That was actually very exciting, because when Nat told me the 10-10-10, because I have 10-10 tattooed on my wrist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we woke up with just this solo event information download. Exciting
Yeah.
one.
And I think that excites me too, because before I even knew or understood what it was, and I've spent many years trying to understand it through different ancient texts, through science, through metaphysics, from all aspects to understand it, because it truly is something that resonates deeply within me, and I know that it doesn't for everyone, and I will touch on that. But I hear your, you wake up and you share your dream, and then I hear Nat's dream, and then in the same few days, like I'll have people from all over the world contact me and share very, very similar information, whether they got it in dream space or meditation or through a vision. It comes in various forms, and it comes in waves. I find, and it was very prevalent. I did a post about that, I don't know, it was about a week and a half ago, I can't remember. And the comments were insane about how many people were tapping into that collective information at that time. So it's kind of exciting, but I think, Katie, you can speak on behalf of this too, because we often have conversations around the fact that, what happened to the event?
Totally. Yeah. I'm on the other end. I feel like when it first came out, I was watching a lot of Alice & Co, and I was really meditating into that experience. And I think I really got into the hype of all of that. And then for like 6 months, I think the last video I remember listening to in the bath, and that was like end of last year. And I was really like, okay, like get ready, it's going to get way worse and then it's going to get better. And I was like really preparing myself to like walk out of my bath and like see like hell breaking loose on the streets, and being like, I'm ready to fight. And then it just disappeared, and I feel like no one in my realm was talking about it, and I felt really distant and far away from it. But I think also, like looking at that now, it's like I couldn't focus on always predicting and feeling into the event and stay focused on clearing all the shit that this Mercury retrograde has brought up, the eclipse, like all of the stuff. It's very hard to hold that excitement and also go through the work, because you're like, kind of like we spoke about bypassing yesterday, it's kind of like, oh well, I won't do this because like the flare's coming, so I don't need a
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good point to bring up, is that I'll be honest, like that, when I kind of came into that information, that was my big bypass, spiritual bypass. It was like, well, I don't need to do anything. Like, I don't need to get my life together in any way, because this thing's going to happen on the planet and everything will take care of itself. And I think a lot of people do go into that space.
Stop paying their rego.
Don't feed their children. Solar events.
That's brutal. But in all honesty, I always try to see and understand the bigger perspective, and from all angles and levels of understanding as best I can. My observation, this is just purely based around my observation. I'm just going to make sure the microphone's working. My observation is that I think that when we're connected into a higher timeline or in a higher energetic space, we start to tap into that information when we're kind of elevated in our frequency, because I think when we're elevated in our frequency, we can link into any higher timeline or future potential that we'll drop into, because that's how we connect into that potentiality. Or, how do I say this? that's how we move into our future potential that's already existing. So we're just tapping into that experience already. But like you said, Katie, when we're purging and we're going through looking at our shadows and going into our dark nights of the soul, the solar flash isn't in our realm. It's not in our field, because we're down doing work to get prepared, leading into to get prepared for that. And I've always noticed, observing timelines over the years, is that what generally happens is there's an upswing in energy, and we go into a heightened state where we're connected into that oneness, into that love, into that field, ultimate potential. And we vibrate in that frequency for X amount of time, and we hold it. And as we're doing that, we're locking in a timeline. But then our physical body needs to then prepare to hold that energy to move into that experience and integrate. So then what happens in the process of preparation is that we go, oh, I'm in a high state, to then come back up again. So if you think about it like a timeline here, so you're having a dream and connecting in with the event of solar flash, and we'll talk about that in how we use those words interchangeably if this is new for you. So you're connecting in with a higher timeline, an exciting one. You're feeling all geared up. It's just around the corner. It's so close, it's coming. And you're in that state of awareness, but you need to get here, and there's a gap. And to bridge that gap, you kind of have to dip down to go on this journey to let everything go that doesn't serve or doesn't align to get to this place here. What does that mean? That means letting go of past hurts, letting go of emotional baggage, ancestral trauma, toxic or karmic connections, relationships, jobs, behaviors, patterns, all that sort of stuff. And then that goes into the inner work that people talk about, and the healing process is ultimately so we can get into that. At least that's how I feel.
And if you think about when we have like a mild solar flare or geomagnetic weather, or anytime there's new light codes coming through, I swear we get like a tiny little bit, and I feel like we feel absolutely messed up. And I know when I'm receiving like the highlight quotient, and where it doesn't assimilate into my body, into my energy, and it highlights all of the aspects that are creating friction because it's a misalignment. It doesn't resonate with the higher. So imagine if there was right now a giant bloody 20 million times that thing. I don't know what exactly would happen, but I could imagine it would be very, very uncomfortable if you weren't in some kind of resonance, or obviously there'll be support and assistance, but like just on the micro level, it's really uncomfortable to be going through right now. And I'm glad that it hasn't happened, and I'm glad that we have more time.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just, as you were talking about that, I was thinking about my relationship and the journey with the sun and solar flares. And so I'll give a snippet of that. But when I first started coming into more heightened sensitivity, I think it was around 2013, 14, sometime around that time. And I would go into these crazy periods where I would have out of control anxiety, panic attacks, over exacerbated thinking, like mine was just running on overload. My nervous system was just it was shit. All these things that are happening, and I would feel like I was condensed into this pressure cooker, and I couldn't understand what was happening, because to the level of what was happening in my body, in my internal experience, on my outer reality and outer world, there wasn't that, it didn't match. It didn't have context to that degree of what I was experiencing. And I came across someone on actually it was Elizabeth Peru initially, on Facebook, who started talking about solar flares. And that's when I was like, oh, and I started to observe. And that was my introduction to looking at how space weather impacted me. And then I realized that there was a correlation that every time there was solar flare, I would have that same experience. And it was every time I was like, this is not a coincidence. This is something that is outside of me, impacting me in my internal process. And over the years, so that happened for a number of years. And I see that as like, when you think about the soul, the sun, the solar plexus, and how it's connected to our mental body, it's connected to our masculine aspect, it's connected to our drive, our will, you know, all those type of things. Of course, it was impacting me in the stomach area and the solar plexus, and the mental stimulation that was happening within me. It was breaking down my egoic self. I mean, I could go into this for ages in detail of what that experience was like, but you know, as I delve deeper into the refinement of self and the healing and letting go of the layers, I now have a very different relationship with the sun. So when a solar flare leaves the sun, I can feel it. And how I can feel it is I feel a tingle sensation in my lips is probably the first thing. I feel parched, I feel dehydrated, I have unquenchable thirst, but I don't have that uncontrollable anxiety, or I don't have it, or very rarely do I have those symptoms. But in actual fact, what it does for me is it puts me in a heightened state of consciousness. It puts me in an elevated state where my body can buzz and like feel this trembling sensation, like I've had too much caffeine, but I've just got ideas bombarding me, like all this inspiration, and I feel incredibly blissed out. I feel incredibly like tapped in to my higher self. Sometimes I don't sleep for days, depending on the magnitude of what the sun's doing at that time. And so the reason I'm sharing that is that our personal relationship and where we are in our ascension journey, and the sun can give us a good indication of how to prepare. And, you know, if we keep a close eye on the sun and what it's doing and how that's relating to our body, that is probably one of the best, that was probably one of the best ways that we can prepare ourselves in connecting with our own inner guidance.
It's funny you talk about what you're feeling, because it was only last year I put 2 and 2 together, and I would wake up with sore legs.
Yes.
Crazy. It would seriously feel like I've been running for 3 days and the soles of my feet would hurt. And thank God I was able to put 2 and 2 together, because otherwise I would have gone to the doctor. But it never lasted long. I would just get up, go outside, feet on the grass, and ground myself again, and the energy would pass, you know, within an hour or two. But yeah, last year got pretty intense with my sore legs, didn't it? It doesn't happen as much anymore. And I've noticed when Schumann goes up, I feel like I'm getting a fever. I always message Alisha, what's Shushi doing? Because I've it does help having
really
those cues.
Yeah. And that's about, I mean, I do comment on, like, I do commentary on that as much as I can, but that's just my own observation of a generalization. You know, it's really encouragement for people to connect with just observing for themselves, and giving everyone the resources and the links that I use to understand the patterns and how to best support yourself. Yeah, because we're talking about, you know, soul flare maybe once or twice a week, or maybe a couple of times a week, that are, yeah, they're strong, but they're mild. We're talking about the solar flash that potentially, if it does materialize in the way that some of us believe it will, we're talking, I don't even know comparison, but we're talking one on a much larger scale. And I would highly recommend everyone to go back and look at the video that I did with Alexis from Ascension Diaries yesterday, where we talk about this probably in more depth, this topic. And we're going to do more content around this, and go look and what's out there. But when I say that, I only just came into the realization that there's a lot of fear mongering out there, as there is for everything, a lot of fear porn. And I didn't even know this until a few weeks ago. That's how sheltered my life is. Apparently, this fear mongering's been around for a long time, around that the sun is going to let off a massive flare a massive flash is going to come from the sun, and it's going to basically wipe out Earth and all its inhabitants in one fell.
Yeah, I heard Alexis talking like that, and I was really shocked to think that it's interesting to hear the information filtered through, I guess, a country and the geographic like energy of like, I think, no disrespect to America, but like the fear that surrounds the event, I don't feel has penetrated Australia in the same way. I feel like the information, I never thought that everyone was like, oh, we're all toast, we're all going to be extinct because of this giant thing. Like, I've never heard that perspective at all, which is really interesting. And that would be really scary.
I mean, it kind of makes sense that of course it would be out there, but yeah, when I came across a specific very high a YouTube channel that has a very high number of subscribers, and I saw this thing, I was like, and I started watching it, and I was like, what? And I was like, oh damn, like there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of people are watching this thing who potentially could believe that we're all going to be extinct because of the sun. Oh my, oh dear. Oh dear. So where do we go from there?
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I have so many followers, and I know some people with, you know, Instagram or Facebook pages that will share that kind of fear porn and stuff like that. I'm like, you have a responsibility to your followers. And
But from their perspective, remember how there was like the ice age and everything got wiped out by ice, and like they don't talk about in those texts like when the civilizations just went underground or when the civilizations like were still active. Like you could see how there'd be a collective of souls who have experienced maybe that in the past, and maybe that's a replay for them of something that they've experienced again and again and they haven't made it, maybe. So that could be that collective.
Yeah, you know, and that's a really great perspective, Katie. Like we always talk about people come from their level of consciousness and their soul's experience, and that's what sort of comes through in what they do and put out in the world if they're content creators or whatever it is. And I think that's a really good point to, you know, that they probably, let's hope that they're putting that out there because they truly believe that, and they think that that's going to, you know, have a positive, we just don't know and we can't judge.
Have a positive effect. So how can people then get psyched at like and prepare?
Well, I want to go back to what I was sharing about my own experience of how I went from having like crazy anxiety to then transitioning into what would more be considered like a an enlightened state based off the energy that the sun puts out. And I know that in those times, like all my psychic senses are incredibly heightened. You know, I can channel the most incredible artwork or, you know, be inspired and have all this energy that's coming through me that I can utilize in a positive manner. And that's how it's impacting me. So I think that if we're attuning and preparing ourselves, just like people would be going to the gym or eating healthy, but doing that in our energetic field, you know, the exciting things to look forward to is, I wish I had the David Wilcock clip. I'll go and try and find that. Someone shared it to me. I'll repost it on Instagram tonight. But talking about his science behind it and how he's done, if people can access the work that he's done, used to be on Gaia, it's not anymore, but in his wisdom teachings, like he just did such incredible work in talking about gathering all the information from all the ancient texts that talk about in all lights of this event, and he puts it in scientific terms. He does an amazing job, but what he talks about is getting psyched because it's going to give people their superhuman abilities. You know, it's going to give people this energy, this boost of energy is going to give us rejuvenation. It's going to give us telepathy. It's going to give us all these things, or to assist us in our evolutionary process to be these ascended masters, ultimately walking around with superhero, however, whatever context you want to put it. Yeah,
he's always so thorough. I mean, long videos, but very thorough.
very long. You got to sift through them, but there's a lot of good info in there. I always think about the research that he did about talking about the fires of Sambhadika, which is in the Vedic text, and it talks about at the end of the era, at the end of the age, there would be this sweeping fire that would come through and purify the darkness on the planet, and the planet will be rebirthed. And you see this time after time in all different ways of saying it, but it's the same thing. At the end of an era, there is this light that, you know, comes from the sun, and it rejuvenates to allow the earth itself to rebirth itself into a higher octave, into a higher frequency. And that's where we're living right now. And you know, you can, whatever your flavor is, you can go and look at the solar flash and information about, you know, what some people may call the event or the solar flash in so many different fashions and terms. They talk about it, you know, we've just entered into solar cycle 25, and how that has accelerated exponentially. So a solar cycle goes for approximately 11 years, and it's not until the mid of the cycle where it really peaks and we see a lot of activity from the sun. And we're only maybe a year in, 18 months at the most. Some people say we've only just entered it. And I mean, if you look at what happened on the eclipse going back like a week and a half ago, within 24-hour period, 24 to 48-hour period, we had 12 or 14 solar flares in that space. That is unheard of, in at least for the time that I've been tracking the sun and its activities. So you know something's ramping up, right? The proof is there, and we're all being impacted by that.
Yeah, that was on my birthday.
I was it.
Happy
birthday!
Full moon solar flare. What else happened that day? I'm like,
Oh, Schumann went down.
oh yeah,
Schumann's-
everything happened that day. And then we had the windstorm in Melbourne, and
Oh God, yeah, we did
yeah,
too.
that was just like what happened that day.
That's really interesting you say that. I'm just thinking back. So if the cycle is 11 years and we're only in the like first year, I remember when I was really young, I remember everyone was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I always have had this feeling in my soul that I've never been able to see myself past the age of like 37. I was always like, I can't see myself as an adult. And I remember in a session I had as a BQH with Joe, or maybe it was a session with you, Alisha, I can't remember, but no, it was the BQH, where I was going between this earth and new earth and seeing the juxtaposition of the reality. And I was traveling, and they said it was a 6-year time frame, so I would have been 34. So that's interesting to think, like, having fully made the jump or the shift at that age. I'm 29 now, that's 5 more years, which is the middle of the 11-year cycle in 6 years. So it's interesting to think about like your own intuition and feeling into, because I feel like lots more stuff has to come out before this can sweep over. I personally don't feel like it's like a week away. I feel like a lot of shit needs to come up and out before we can be expecting that. Could be wrong, could be literally tomorrow.
Well, and no one really knows. It's all speculation. So, you know, anyone who believes they know the date and the time, I would be a little cautious of that, you know. But then it comes back to our own individual experience too. And I'll share a couple of things that have come to my mind, because I literally do sit and analyze and think about this for days on end when I'm alone by myself. These are the conversations that flow around in my head like all the time. When the information first came out, and if you go back and watch the interview that I did with Alison Coe, to save time, go have a look at that. But I had a dream in 2016. And from there, then found Alison Coe's work. And then it was just like joining the pieces of the dot. And then there was this big buzz around 2017, 2018 that it was coming and it was happening. And, you know, and then everyone's predicting dates and they come and go and they don't happen. And it was around that time that I was so triggered. Like, talk about like my height of trigger. I don't think anything triggered me more than this, but I was so convinced in what I knew was going to happen because of my own experience and it being validated, that anyone that said otherwise would just send me into an absolute rage where I would just scream, F you.
Get it, go. Would not want to be on the receiving end of Alisha Braché pissed.
Like, who is this beast?
bigger for me to work through. And my soul brother Lockie, you know, he used to just rile me up over and over again, which was good because it helped me release that trigger.
We would have been so good at riling.
Man. We'd be out walking, talking about something completely unrelated, and he'd go, "Hey, guess what?" And I'm like, "What?" He's going, "Oh, I've got to tell you something." I'm like, "What is it?" He's like, "Solar flash is an external event. It's only an internal event." And I'd be like, anyway, but it made me investigate as to there was so much discrepancy within the communities, you know, of people saying, yes, it's this way, it's this, and this happens with everything. But I was like, why is that? Why are some people absolutely, like, with their heart and soul know that that's going to happen, and other people in their heart and soul are like, no, it's an internal event that happens individually, blah blah blah. So the conclusions that I've come to are, A, going back to that, your soul's journey. I do believe that a lot of people on this planet right now, specifically starseeds or people who believe that they've incarnated from high dimensions or other planets, I believe that we have come with the expertise because we have gone through a planetary ascension process before. So we will have context in our soul memory of what it's like to be on a planet when an evolutionary cosmic wave hits and what happens to the planet. And we've been chosen, or we chose to be here because we have the expertise of the soul experience to be able to anchor light and do the work, whatever it is. Then I believe that there's other people who have gone through ascension themselves individually. And I talked about this yesterday about the light body in the 13 years and all that. That is a different type of ascension. It's still ascension, but it's an internal process. It's an individual process. It's not a collective experience. It helps the collective field, yes. So you see where I'm going, where it's interlinked. So if you have enough people on the planet preparing for the solar flash, for the event, who are doing this inner work and lighting themselves up from within and having the inner event experience, what is that going to do en masse as a collective? What is going to happen when the 100th monkey effect of all these people hit critical mass, lighting up, their energy bodies lighting up, pew, pew, pew? What's that going to happen? What's going to, sorry.
Technical term, pew, pew, pew.
That is the technical. What is going to happen, you know, when enough people do that? It's going to create
Spontaneous combustion.
Yeah, exactly. We're all going to perish. No, I'm kidding.
We're all gonna perish.
I think we're just all going to float towards the sky and be like balloons. Balloon light body form floating in the sky.
Would you want to talk about your dream that you had not that long ago?
Which one?
The one when we were away down at the beach.
Oh, that was such a trip that weekend. Alisha was so buzzy and I was wiped. I don't remember my dream. Can you tell me?
You had a solar event dream, and everyone started levitating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But then it continued on to the next day.
Like suspended animation levitation?
No, not suspended, just ongoing levitation. But
Wow.
it went on the next day, didn't it? I was so out of it. I was wigged out. Thank God Alisha was on the phone to me driving home, because I was like, I'm not here.
Yeah, I realized at that point a lot of us were really tapped out, and I felt like there was something happening on a higher dimensional level in the sun at that time. It was like we were all, the higher aspects of us were like congregating in the sun to, like, maybe we were in preparation for the 10th of June to let off all those flares. We were like, all right, let's get all this energy, let's get it ready. We're to get the humans prepared, so let's do like a big ramp up on one day just to see how they.
Well, one thing I do remember is they did say you have to hold this energy for 3 days. And then Nat had the same one just a couple of weeks ago. You had to hold the energy for 3 days.
I got the same download. So I had a beautiful meditation. I was told various things, and then I was told I had to hold that for 3 days. And I think that was during your birthday, actually.
It happened on my birthday.
And I didn't, and I was actually physically quite sick. I was trying my hardest I didn't know what I was supposed to be holding. I think, a higher vibrational frequency, but I felt like I was purging at the same time, and I was, sort of like in this, it felt like a tornado of energy. It was crazy. Yeah.
If it does come through, I do feel like there's so many different ways that I guess like in this station that the galactic and higher consciousness must be watching of the planet Earth documentary right now. I feel like there is going to be so many levels of support. Like I think on the individual journey, there's so many ways that you can prepare yourself irregardless of if there is a solar flash. As you can tell, the solar flares are increasing more and more and more, and they do create that vibrational tear and uncomfortability, but there's so many things that you can do now irregardless of that. But I really feel like when it does come, and I'm just looking at 2 planes flying right now, I feel like there will be so much support, and I feel into what other channelers have said, and I heard someone speaking about suspended animation, and I feel like there's the path of least resistance ultimately, like I feel like some souls are going to get recycled in the sun because they're fragmented and fractured so much that they're actually just walking around as bodies, and there's not much of their light quotient left anyway. So I feel like some people will like eventually like want to be returned. And then I feel like Nat, your dreams, it's like some people are stationed that if there was to be a solar flash, that there are helpers on the ground and that there are ships to go onto. And I don't know where I'm going with this.
As you brought that up, I guess that includes another aspect, and that other aspect is that there is help and there is support out there, and there's a lot of theories that our galactic brothers and sisters and neighbors are helping support us because they have been through, for many reasons, but the 2 I can think of off the top of my head is that they've been through it, they understand that it's happening more than we do consciously as a collective for various reasons, and they also have technologies that I have heard recently that are kind of filtering some of that light and buffering it, or drip feeding it in so that it's a smoother, basically they want the highest outcome for everyone, for humanity. And they're assisting us also because what our process goes through on Earth is a ripple effect into the cosmos. So if we make an easy transition, an easy as possible transition through this ascension process that we're in already, that impacts their planet and their, planetary body, because every planet is ascending, not just Earth, And so if we're being held back, they're being held back. It's this flow-on effect, this ripple effect. And I actually love the science that comes out around this. I'm not really a science person, but was it Alpha Centauri that literally just had in 2019? There was an article that I shared about a month ago, and it was an article that got published, I don't know when, but it was like talking about in 2019 that Alpha Centauri, I think it was, had a massive explosion of light that changed the planet. And it's, I don't know the scientific words, but basically what we could potentially be anticipating for the solar flash event of light hitting the planet and it being transformed. So it's pretty incredible when you think about it like that. And I have always embraced it and seen it in the most positive light. I really think that it's an incredible opportunity for evolution, that we all chose to be here to participate in it. And so let's have I know we've got 20 minutes left. Let's open up for questions and let's talk about how we can prepare ourselves, regardless how it happens, because I also do think that everyone will experience it in their own level of consciousness too. So what I mean by that is some people who are more maybe psychically in tune may have this amazing cosmic experience where they see rainbow light coming into the planet, and they get to sort of integrate that into their body and feel that euphoria, and then have to hold it for 3 days. that's going to be someone's experience, whereas someone else may feel a bit dizzy and lightheaded and have to go and lay down and sleep and rest for a couple of days and have no real idea what happened. But there is that other possibility that people will get taken up onto spacecraft if that is in their highest and best interest. I mean, all bets are off at this point, I reckon.
I'll take option B or C. What? I'll take option B or C.
You know what, A?
No.
A is mine. I have to look, I'll be honest. I've said that I came here for the greatest show on earth. It's going to be like a cosmic psychedelic dance party without the drugs. And if I don't get that, I want a refund. I will be disappointed.
It's like I think the solar flash, and when it happens, I know I spoke to a couple of people about it last year, but it's like the twin flame journey. People seem to not do the work. It's like, just do the work. Solar flash will happen, the union will happen, just do the work, and you get distracted from that. A lot of that last year, actually, a lot of people are not paying their bills. Like COVID's going to get cured by the solar event.
Yeah, I think it helps to stay really grounded through all of it. I think the more grounded that you can be about like just continuing to have your human experience as well. Like, I think it's all good to have the galactic experiences and BQH with Joe and meditation and those experiences, but also like I think what's helped me the most is like being just the most human that I can, and tapping out at times and like eating 5,000 potatoes and watching Friends and just being really normal. Just being really normal, because it can be so overwhelming to do. Like, on the other side of people who don't do the work, doing the work so much is a whole thing as well. And I really feel like having more fun and being like, oceans exist, and staring at a wall and like doing nothing exists.
That's one thing I'm grateful for, having my children, because some days I'm like in my head, and then my kids was like, what's for dinner? It's like, what do you mean? I'm busy. And then, and children really ground you. They snap you out and then bring you back to your body like really quick, don't they, Nat?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that that's been such a blessing for me. Since having these kids, because like I can wake up from a event dream and then my 3-year-old's asking me why he's gone, and I'm like, okay, I had to leave that really quickly. But yeah, it's I think grounding is super important, and I think don't miss out on this 3D experience. Like, Mother Earth is so incredibly beautiful, and there's so much here on Earth that we can get like from her, and I think going out in nature, whatever it is, going to the beach, just appreciating the beauty in right here and right now is really important. Not to get too caught up in, not being present.
Totally.
Yeah, really good points, ladies. Because I think the more we can integrate into the physicality, the more we hold the light, the more we connect in with nature. We're grounding those energies in that's supporting us, supporting her. It's supporting the whole, that's what it's really about.
It's like having interactions with people. So, you go into a meditation, you're able to access this like incredible unconditional love, but there's no point in having that if you can't use that in your interactions with people in your everyday life.
Totally. Totally. When you meditate all the time and you come into the normal world and you're like, oh, gross. Like, but it's like embodying, like holding that, and then like actually grounding that in, and then like rewiring that as your like compassionate perspective, understanding perspective, like changing the lens of everything takes so much time to rewire, especially when the dominant energy to entrain to is judgment and self-criticism and blah, 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 blah. Like, really projecting that out every single day is a nice challenge.
Yeah.
And ultimately good for yourself. Like, every loving act is quite selfish in its nature, because it benefits you as well.
100%. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I get drunk on love. Like, I sit there and show compassion to someone that I don't like, but on the inside I'm like, oh my God, I'm so drunk on love right now. So, but it's okay. Do you want to talk about?
We've been needing to talk to you about that, Anna.
Pardon?
This is an intervention. who actually brought you here today.
You can't. My team said I'm allowed to get drunk.
Rock on Love is good.
We talk about how to prepare for the solar event.
Well, I think, yeah, let's touch on that. We've covered quite a few segments now, and they all sort of interlink because, a lot of people do believe that the solar the solar event, we'll call it the solar event, merging the two, the solar event may, have, how do I say this, maybe impacted from, beings who are connected on sacred partnership journey. I touched on that with Alexis, and we're actually going to do a roundtable talking about that after World Unity Week. So I look forward to that. That's a bit of a private discussion that we're going to kind of bring as a topical thing.
Yeah, I think you have to share that.
Yeah, it goes into depth, but I didn't realize that I thought this was just a theory amongst friends that we all tapped into a similar thing, but apparently it's written in the Law of One text. So I was like, ooh, hello. And that's, yeah. So anyway, but yeah, how to prepare? Well, really, we're all going through this ascension process, whether we're conscious of it or not. And so it's all about supporting ourselves. Going back to the first episode, how do we support ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and doing those things that can help us integrate more light into our body. But to be able to do that, we have to shed things that don't serve us. As a very blanket overview, things like, meditation and working with energy is really supportive. Cleaning up your diet for some people. I know for me personally, and I've noticed a lot of people, especially since probably around February, March this year, the real focus on the physical body and how the body's just saying no to a lot of things. Like I joke, I could eat anything for years, right? And all of a sudden this year, my body's like, you're eating vegetables and fruit, and that's it. Sometimes it's just vegetables. Thank you for making vegetable soup. So I think it's really about being able to attune to what your body is asking for and what you're being required to look at from moment to moment, and it will change, But what do you ladies think?
Well, I think just being naturally guided for me at the moment, forgiveness. Like, and I don't mean that, all right, I forgive you type. It's been for me like crack your heart open and wholeheartedly forgive. And that's been like stripping layers for me. And I don't know, I guess it makes you lighter. It makes you able to sit in love more, which we've already established. I love. But seriously, the forgiveness, I didn't realize I wasn't very good at forgiveness. I actually said to Alisha yesterday, was that yesterday? I said to Alisha, B, guess what? I know how to love unconditionally now. Because you think you know, right? But then you get to a deep, the more clearing and forgiveness and love you practice and embody, you go to a deeper heightened state to it. And yesterday was one of those days I'm like, shit, I know how to do this, like properly. Lady Jane, there's like something happening in the background with you. It's like, can you see
I'm just
it?
sitting here.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Am I gonna like start levitating?
yeah, I think there's a solar flash happening in your room.
My personal solar flash. I organized it for now.
Right on time.
So that's just it for me. Just learning forgiveness, events, situations. Up here, you can tend to get really blah blah blah. You said this, you did that, and even the table. Forgive the table that stubbed me on the foot the other day. Like, I was so mad at that table. But little things like that, and then just come back to love. Really simple. Doesn't have to get complicated.
Yeah, that's been huge for me too. There was areas in my life that I never ever thought that I would be able to forgive, and that has happened over the last 12 months. And I can tell you, it was like carrying around like a house of concrete my entire life, and having a different level of perception on the experience that I endured. And actually forgiving, like not just actually saying it, but feeling that forgiveness has opened my heart so much. And I'm totally grateful for every experience that I've been through. So I think that for me, that's been huge. And another thing is, yeah, what you were saying, Alisha, is listening to what your body wants. I'm saying this year, I've like, the last 2 weeks, I'm actually like only been able to eat bananas and drink water, and I'm just going with it. Yeah, so I think if you start listening to yourself, your body will give you the guidance that you need. And it's just, and I think also too, for me, one more thing, I tend to feel guilty if I stop. I'm always on the go. So for me, it's been huge to actually stop, rest when my body needs rest, and not feel guilty about that. So if your body's telling you to slow down, listen to it and slow down, and you don't need to feel guilty about pausing and resting or spending the day laying on the couch. Like, if your body needs it, let it. Yeah, so it's probably my 3 biggest things.
Thank you for sharing that.
Katie Jane.
Oh, I think you guys covered it. I feel like in preparation for the solar flash, I think, I don't know, it's so individual. Find whatever your soul is needing at that time. Like, I'll fluctuate between needing to have like a bunch of sessions and do a lot of clearing, but then now I'm at the part now where I actually need to tap out of all of the spiritual stuff and go be real normal. Like, I think I've been way active on all of the fronts, running a business, being a human, doing spiritual work, doing sacred relationship work. I can't even think about the event because I'm just tired. So I think it's like coming in and like actually going to the motherboard and switching all of them off and putting in my notice to the galactic and saying, I'm fucking taking time, like, do not be using me for the next, like, you know what I mean? And doing that on the human front, like learning to know when to actually just turn off from all of it. Because then you're like light years ahead. I know every time I give myself space to actually completely turn off, when I turn back on, all my lights are back on in a whole different way.
100%, yeah.
That's why Alisha is dying to do some human fun stuff after World Unity Week.
Yeah, I want to come do fun stuff.
Yeah, I've actually been thinking about that a lot, especially in the last day. Is like, I am thoroughly enjoying World Uni Week, but it's taking a lot out of me, and it has done for months in preparation. And I was like, oh my God, I was like being like running through my head, like all the people that I would like to see and spend time with, and like, and just the little fun things that I want to do. I'm like, I might even like, I mean, I don't even know what the actual restrictions in that world is happening, but I was like, keeping in mind that everything was as normal and without restrictions and having to navigate through these stupid rules. But I was like, I might even go out to a bar or a club or a restaurant to see. And
yeah, girl.
I mean,
yeah, you're in.
yeah.
All right. And I was like, then I could like throw a barbecue at my house. And anyway, yeah, just
July's going to be very social.
it is going to be very social. I look forward to it.
Awesome.
Well, I think we've covered everything. I'm going to segue out because we're going to come back tomorrow for our last Ascension 101 Real Talk, and it will be about New Earth children and conscious parenting. So we're going to kind of...
Is there a transmission now? I just had to say that in case you forgot. I'm so tired. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No, I asked you to do that. What I'm actually going to do is we're going to wrap up this segment of us, and I'm going to lead into a pre-recorded version. And so it's one of my guided journeying processes that Katie remastered for me. All those are available on the website for purchase and download, but this particular one that I'm gifting for World Uni Week is it's called the Galactic Federation of Light. It's a bit activating. Probably, Katie, you could maybe share, because you've done it more recently than when I recorded it.
Yeah, when I was mastering them all, it was very activating, but in an amazing way. I think you were like, now walk towards this beam of light and you might go up at a different, and I was like, zoom. And you're like, you might go up quite fast, and I was like, lady, I'm dizzy. I think they're amazing. Like hands up, like testament to some of those, the mastery one, the Egyptian temple one, connecting to your spirit guides, connecting to past. Like there's so many. I think there's like 22 I ended up doing, but some of them are a bit shorter, but they're very, very, very powerful.
And thank you for your amazing work in remastering them. And
oh, that's okay.
So
it was 17 weeks. No, it didn't. Just kidding.
So I think probably to end this segment is one of the things that you can do to help prepare yourself is to do energy work, and that may include doing guided journeying. I don't like the word meditation. I'm gonna have to come up with a new one, but because I think that the work that Katie Jane, that we all do, is not meditation. You know, it's activating, it's clearing, it's aligning, it's what you would experience in a session with a practitioner, just in a more intimate, personalized, general version. It's you know, there's so much into it, and you know, check out Katie Jane's website and all the amazing tracks that she has available, and go check out her segment. If you want to know how to prepare for Solar Flash, go watch the premiere version of Katie Jane's segment today, because there is,
you could do turning the chakras.
chakras, which is like 101, and you did calling back your soul fragments as well. So there's two processes in that video that you can go and access. So many cool things that you can do. I'm going to end up here, and I am going to play the I'm going to come back on and just play through live stream the Galactic Federation of Light. So I hope you can all join in, get comfortable, get relaxed, and enjoy. So thank you, beautiful ladies. Thanks, ladies. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll be back same time tomorrow. And we'll see you all soon. Bye.
Ciao.